In the early hours of March 1st, 2026, the Middle East crossed a threshold. A coordinated U.S.-Israeli strike on Iran, described by Bloomberg as an operation that killed Iran's supreme leader and triggered plumes of smoke rising across Tehran. Bloomberg indicates the action has reshaped global geopolitics overnight. Washington framed the attack as a response to Iran's nuclear advances and proxy violence. Israel called it a necessary act of preemption. But outside the region, three major powers, Russia, China, and North Korea, are recalibrating their strategies today. We're going to break down for you how each is responding, what they stand to gain or lose, and how this moment may accelerate the formation of a new geopolitical bloc. By the way, click your like and subscribe buttons down below. It costs you nothing, and it really helps our channel to continue. Let's start with Russia. Moscow's initial reaction was swift but measured. According to CNBC, Russia condemned U.S. and Israeli strikes on Iran, but analysts noted that whether any tangible or impactful support for Iran will materialize is uncertain. This is classic Kremlin behavior. Russia often adopts what CNBC called a wait-and-see approach to global affairs, that it doesn't see as directly impacting its interests. And in this case, the calculus is complicated. Think about Russia's strategic interests. First, energy markets. Russia benefits from volatility in global oil prices. A destabilized Iran means higher prices, more leverage from Moscow, and increased revenue to sustain its war in Ukraine. Second, arms sales. Iran is a major buyer of Russian drones, missiles, and air defense systems. A weakened Iran becomes more dependent on Russian hardware. Third, anti-U.S. alignment. Moscow sees the strike as proof of what it calls U.S. hegemonic behavior, a phrase echoed by North Korea and amplified in Russian state media. What is the likely Russian response? Expect Russia to increase diplomatic coordination with Iran, China, and North Korea. Expand military technical cooperation, especially air defenses, and avoid direct confrontation with the U.S. or Israel. As one CSIS analysis noted, the Iran conflict offers an interesting lens to understand how the relationships among China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea are evolving, with some analysts dubbing the emerging alignment the axis of upheaval. Russia wants that axis, but on its terms. China's reaction has been sharper, rhetorically, but cautious in practice. USA Today reported that it condemned the U.S.-Israeli strikes as a grave violation of international norms and immediately opened talks with Iran, Oman to prevent wider regional conflict. Let's talk about China's strategic dilemma. China has three competing interests. First is the energy security aspect. China imports more than 40% of its oil from the Gulf. A destabilized Iran threatens Beijing's energy lifeline. Two, the second great power position. China wants to present itself as a defender of sovereignty and international law, especially in contrast to U.S. military actions. Third, avoiding escalation. Beijing cannot afford a major Middle East war while its economy is slowing and its military modernization is still incomplete. What are China's likely moves? Diplomatic mediation first. Expect China to push for ceasefires, negotiations, and multilateral forums. Beijing wants to be seen as the responsible adult in the room. Economic lifelines for Iran. China may expand oil purchases through gray channels, helping Iran survive sanctions without openly violating them. Closer coordination with Russia. The strike accelerates Sino-Russian alignment, especially in framing the U.S. as destabilizing. But as CNBC noted, Iran should not count on allies Russia and China to come to its aid because neither is willing to risk direct confrontation with Washington over Tehran. China will posture loudly but act cautiously. North Korea, the loudest voice with the least to lose. North Korea's reaction has been the most aggressive. Bloomberg reported that Pyongyang condemned the strike as a shameless and illegal act of aggression, accusing the U.S. of hegemonic and rogue behavior and abusing its military policy to realize its ambitions. This is more than rhetoric. Why is North Korea vocal? First, ideological alignment. Pyongyang sees Iran as a fellow anti-US revolutionary state. Second, nuclear legitimacy. The strike reinforces North Korea's argument that only nuclear weapons guarantee regime survival. Third, leverage over Washington. With US attention diverted to Iran, North Korea sees an opportunity to test missiles, negotiate from strength, or extract concessions. A shift in timing. The diplomat noted that the strike came just a week after North Korea signaled openness to dialogue with the U.S., contingent on being recognized as a sovereign nuclear-armed state. That window is now closed. What are some likely North Korean actions? There could be accelerated missile testing, including ICBMs, expanded military cooperation with Iran and Russia, sharper anti-US propaganda framing the strike as proof of American aggression. North Korea is the only one of the three that benefits from escalation. Taken together, the responses from Russia, China, and North Korea reveal a world moving toward sharper geopolitical blocs. What unites them? Opposition to the U.S. military intervention unites them. A desire to weaken American influence in the Middle East unites them. And interest in supporting Iran up to a point unites them. What divides them? Well, China wants stability. Russia wants leverage. North Korea wants chaos. This divergence limits the formation of a true alliance, but strengthens what CSIS analysts described as a warning. The CRINC alignment, China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea, driven less by shared ideology and more by shared opposition to the United States power. The U.S.-Israeli strike in Iran has done more than reshape the Middle East. It has accelerated a global realignment, one where Russia maneuvers for advantage, China balances condemnation with caution, and North Korea seizes the moment to escalate. None of these powers will intervene directly on Iran's behalf, but all three will use this crisis to advance their own strategic goals and to challenge American influence in ways that will shape the next decade. As the dust settles in Tehran, the geopolitical aftershocks are only beginning. Thanks for watching. Stay informed, stay analytical, and I'll see you in the next episode. That's the way it is. This 5th day of March 2026, I'm Joe LaRosie.